here in a little bit with my friend Mary Brotherton, and we are going to be discussing cliches you should not overuse in a book or in any writing, whether it's public speaking, whether it's written for an article, whether it's in a book. There are just some cliches you don't want to overuse. However, before we get into that, I want to welcome all of you who are watching this or will be watching this. Midnight Publishing was started because I lost my publisher. And I didn't have any way to get my books out there or to get books out of there that I had sent my friends to my now deceased publisher. So we started this. Hold on, I'm going to let Mary in. Maybe. There she is. I think we about got this.
We just about figured it out.
I was just introducing the show and people to our show and the fact of the birth of Midnight Publishing and introduce the show as in cliches we should not overuse, whether it is books, periodicals, articles, even in everyday language. So, ladies and
Because it
gentlemen,
gets
Mary has now
boring.
joined me. Mary has now joined me. So, before we get started with the cliches, I'm gonna brag just a wee bit. You know the book I've been working on, Murder in the Village. You know the background of this book.
Yes.
Well, it's going live August 1st. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, I have lived in a community of children for 3.5 years. And when I say children, I'm talking about adult children that should know better, that must have had to have been mean girls in school because they never outgrew it. And men that honestly, I don't know what they use for common sense. They've never been in the political arena. They don't understand how things are done on a board, the level of confidentiality that has to be maintained. So rather than going out and physically removing these people that don't even deserve to breathe the same air we breathe, and then because I don't rock orange, I kill them off in books. It's our favorite thing to do.
It's so much fun.
So much fun. Well, I don't know if you've seen all the comments from some of the people that are in the village that are friends of mine. They are saying, we can't wait. And last night, when I was calling bingo over at the other phase, everybody kept saying, will we know who they are? I said, oh, yes, you will. Now, in the beginning of the book, right after the title page, I wrote, all the characters in this book are fiction. Any resemblance to persons living or dead is pure coincidence.
Uh,
I saw that.
Inspired by a little live people.
There you go. And I can do that. So, with that being said, it will go up on Audible, it will go up in hard copy, and it will go up on Kindle.
Awesome.
But so, but I got to go back and put table of contents and all that crap in for Audible and Kindle, and then rework the cover for the hard copy. Ladies and gentlemen, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and this is what I offer all of my authors at no cost. This is what people don't understand. I do this on my time, my dime, and my love of paying it forward, right, Mary?
Yeah.
So there you go. If you want your book published, all you got to do is contact me. In fact, I had a guy at church say, I was told to come to you, and I said, send me your stuff. And he goes, what? Seriously, send me your stuff. We can make it happen. I hadn't heard from him yet, probably won't, but that's on him.
People take time.
They do. They really, really do.
It has to
But it,
it has to gel around till they think it's their idea.
yeah, some of them don't. Yeah, they never do. So in Murder in the Village, my three drag queens from the Pink Canary and When Fates Collide, Mardi Gras Bound, and When Fates Collide, Arm Candy, and Shady Rest had to come play.
I bet they had a ball.
Oh, Penelope came into her own in this book. You know, she's a hot mess anyway, but
Yes.
she really, really, yeah, put, yeah. Y'all just have to read the book. So, what have you been up to? I know last week you were reading a story to some children.
I read, well, I went to read a story to children and not a child showed up.
What?
I think it was too close to the 4th of July. And the woman, it's a new shop. It's called Moon River Cafe and Curiosity. My phone, I forgot to turn it down. Sorry. Um, Moon River Cafe and Curiosities, and it's new. It's a brand new shop. So they're still getting the word out. They're very big in the community. They have art, original art by local artists on the walls everywhere.
Nice.
And they sell books for local art.
That word.
Artists and authors sound too much alike. Painters and writers.
There you go.
So it was very interesting. One of my new friends, Billie Jean Glenn, she's also an author. She wrote a children's book. And it's in every one of Brevard County's libraries right now.
Nice.
Yes. And Brevard County has like 17 libraries, I think. Not
It's a bit-
counting
it's-
the law library.
Yeah, it's a huge county.
And not counting the history library. So anyway, those books are there, and she was so funny. She had mentioned when I posted an announcement that I was going to be at Moon River. She said, "Well, I'm going to come because I want to watch the pro at work." What? I forget sometimes how people see me. I am me. I'm as plain as they come. I try not to, I try to get away from my roots. I'm not ashamed of my roots. I'm a country born and raised girl, but I've been running from my roots for most of my life.
Embrace them.
Well, I've started embracing them. I still can't talk like everybody else in my hometown, though. It just doesn't come out right.
That's because you've been away so long.
Oh, let me go home for a week by myself.
And there you go. You're right back into it. Just it's like riding a
So
bike. Don't
anyway,
forget.
Billie Jean and her husband were there, and we were waiting and waiting for children to show up, and finally the cafe owner showed up. Her daughter was managing the cafe part. So Mama comes along, Kate Broderick's her name, and she started talking with us, the three of us, and I said, "Well, you know what? Just because there aren't any children here doesn't mean that I can't read my book." So I read the book to these adults, gave them each a copy to read and hold while I read it. And it gave me a dry run, a practice run basically. And Kate and Billie Jean had both worked as chaplains in hospitals in the past. And
Nice.
they both said this book needs to be in the hands of the hospital staff because this is the one about organ donation. And so I at least have started the ball rolling. I reached out to Holmes, chaplain, and then he put me in touch with their gift shop coordinator or something like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Also,
You just
And-
never know.
well, in Georgia, and this was who we went through when we donated Ramonda's organs. It's it's not the hospital, it's the organization that gets all the teams together and that people send their request to be either a donor or a recipient to.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get that from Brandy and send it to you.
Thank
Be-
you.
because the recipient, as well as the donor, especially children and even adults, don't understand the unselfish act.
And that's what I focused on in my book because it was for children. It's about being kind and how you can extend this kindness beyond your physical life.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to get into any gory, crazy details. I just stated it so that a child could understand it. And both of the husband didn't, but both of the women who listened to me read were going as I finished it. And so they both said that I needed to get it in the hands of hospice, not hospice, but organ donations. And I really hadn't thought about this, but I should reach out to organdonor.gov.
Yep. Also, CHOA, which is Children's Hospital of Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
It used to be the Scottish Rite Hospital.
Yeah.
That's where Ramonda went, and it was at their suggestion that the kids might want to consider donating Ramonda's organs. And because they work with children and
Yes.
families of children, their compassion is over the top.
Oh, you have to be compassionate to work with families of children
Yes.
who are
So
shedding their mortal coil.
so reach out to them. Um, and I would also reach out to St. Jude's
Oh, yeah.
because I don't know, I'm sure that they have a organ donor program because again, all they deal with is children.
Yeah.
And they might incorporate it into a packet for a family that is thinking about donating.
That was what Kate had suggested would happen at the local hospital because, one of the first people they call on is the chaplain.
Correct.
And she thought if the chaplain had a stack of my books, when they're giving out other brochures and information, this book could come right along with it.
Because when the decision was made to donate Ramonda's organs, the nursing supervisor and the woman from this, I forgot what it's called, sat down with us and talked and gave them information
Right.
and explained to them that they had these several people that were in dire need, especially this 12-year-old girl who only had 2 weeks to live.
Ugh.
So it's like I told Brandy, there was a reason that we no longer have Ramonda. It was in God's divine plan. He gave her to us for 13 years. Some people don't get their child for 5 seconds.
Nope.
Some babies leave us in vitro. I mean, they, for whatever reason, they miscarry or they're born stillborn. Some are born 6 weeks after. But Ramonda was given to us for 13 years. And because her dad performed CPR on her, it kept that heart alive long enough for them to get her intubated and get her on life support to keep that organ alive along with
God
the other
bless 'em.
organs, even though she was brain dead.
that had to be hard on everybody.
It my son-in-law lived with guilt for many, many years because he thought he could save her. He thought he failed her. And what the neurologist told him was it was because of his CPR that kept the organs viable, and
Right,
that
right.
he did all he could possibly do.
I mean, had he not done that, if he thought, well, I'm not qualified, there's nothing to do, then nobody would have benefited from her
No,
short life on earth.
no. So she continues to be a blessing.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
when families think about and they're in the throes of grief because their child is dying and they're approached about that, if they could think about the fact that because of that family's decision to donate that child's organs, they now gain family they might not ever meet, because
Oh,
that
absolutely.
child's DNA becomes part of that recipient's DNA.
Yes.
And I think your book would be a beautiful teaching tool.
Thank you.
So,
I'm really excited about it. It's really funny because when my cousin first received her heart transplant, she was in her early 30s. She had two small children, and she and I talked after she'd gone through, after about a year of her going through all the craziness that you have to go through. And I asked her, would she mind if I wrote a story about her? In my head at that time, I mean, this was umpteen years ago. It was 20, almost 25 years ago. I had it, I had visions of a Hallmark romance.
mm-hmm.
Somebody donated her heart, and random strangers met on a subway or whatever, and they fell in love instantly, and it was like, oh, I just fell in love with your heart. And that's when she said, well, I have a heart transplant, blah, blah, blah. They figured out that she was she was carrying his ex-wife's heart, or former wife, deceased wife. And I had all these thoughts, and I started writing and outlining, and then I got to a roadblock, and I just couldn't.
The
I know I don't have
voices
to explain that to you, but for the people who are not watching this, who may be only listening, the face that I just made was one of, I'm not a chick lit Hallmark kind of girl. I'm not one, but that's just not the way I write. Um, so it sat there and sat there, and then one day Linda had announced on Facebook, I'm so grateful to be celebrating 24 years with a stranger's heart in my chest, or something like that. And then all of a sudden I knew it had to be a children's book. And it came together so quick and so fast, and had somebody volunteer to do the illustrations. No, that doesn't happen in this world.
it does not.
Of course, now she wants to work with me on my next children's book, and will be happy to charge me only
Only
$3,000.
that, yeah, no. Not when we now have so many tools available
Yes,
that we
but
can use.
I'm very grateful that Jay wrote, did the illustrations, and I'm very grateful to have this book completed. And I'm excited about the opportunities for it.
Oh, they're unlimited.
Yeah, I just have to go out there and knock on a few doors. That's all.
Start making inquiries, yeah. And you know what I have learned in my many, many years on this earth is our time is not always God's time. And this may be God's time because there was a reason that those adults were there and there were no children.
Yeah.
Call it
And I
divine
wouldn't have
providence.
thought to reach out to hospitals.
There you go.
It's not something I would have thought of. And you had mentioned, years ago about Ramonda and what the family did for how many lives did she save that day?
Let's see. Two kidneys, a liver, a heart, corneas, five.
And I know that depending on the situation, and a lot of it is timing, like you
Uh-huh.
mentioned. Um, if there's not another child who needs that organ at that time, it's not something they can just keep on ice.
No.
They
And there's
can't just.
all no because the corneas they could keep for 2 years. The other organs have a very, very small shelf life,
Yeah.
not even 24 hours. That's why when they were talking to us and the decision was made of when to take her off life support,
Uh huh.
before they could even take her off life support, they had to go out and gather all the surgical teams because each organ had a different surgical team.
Yes. And
And
they had to get
then
the family there.
right, and they had to get especially that little girl in place. Now I don't know where she was, if they had to fly the heart out or if she was local, we still don't know. The family was not ready to meet or talk with Brandy. They get thank you cards, and I think it's because on some level they felt guilty and they should not have felt guilty. That was a
No.
gift of love. And Ramonda would have been the first one to say, take my heart.
Take what you need.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's a very tricky situation on both sides of this equation.
it
On
is.
the one hand, you've got a death, but then on the other hand, you've got a life saving organ.
Yep. And
I know that if in a perfect world, one healthy body can save 8 lives, there
at
are
least,
8 different life saving organs they can give, and they can make a difference in 75 other people's lives.
mhm,
Because one person might need one cornea, they
right?
may not need both, and you just don't know. But there's so many little miracles inside every human body
And
that
it's like I've always said, we are perfectly made, but we as humans are not perfect.
exactly. My
And
father was only 60 when he died, and he died. He had massive heart attacks and a brain tumor, but he donated his entire body to science. And his thinking was, none of my children became a doctor, but maybe I can help somebody else's child become a doctor.
there you go.
And my mother tried to donate her body, but she was 87, and she had brittle bone disease, and she had tumors up and down her spine, and there really wasn't much. So they said thanks, but no thanks. There wasn't a whole lot that she could donate, but and the thing is, if you donate your body, you can't donate your organs.
That's right. I would rather donate my organs.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, now seriously, or not. At one time I thought about donating my body to science fiction. I mean,
Now, how would that work?
oh, that would be a hoot and a half.
Oh, but I love the idea of it. So maybe that's your next book.
Could be. Actually, there's several that are in the pike, and we will see what goes
Yeah, we'll
where.
see who comes up first.
Now, you got, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, people like to be in my books. A friend of mine here in the village said, And who am I in this book? I said, you're not in this book. I can't put everybody in this first book. It's just not going to happen. She got offended. I said, you just going to have to wait your turn.
She should write her own book and be
No,
her
she's not a
own
writer.
heroine.
She's not a writer. But there's enough material in this village for at least 4 books.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I said, you'll be in the next one. Just everybody chill out. There's room for everybody in this series.
Yeah.
The next in the series, and I told him, I says, the ending of this book is not going to be what you think it is. There's a twist. Because the next book, the title of the next book is Duct Tape, Tarp, and a Shovel. And the first line is,
Whoa.
it all started in the middle aisle of a hardware store. So when you read the ending of the first book, you'll understand the title of the second book.
Yeah.
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, a little teaser there.
That's
We
kinda,
will-
it's kind of
We
cool.
will. So let's talk about cliches.
Okay.
I
Um,
w-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's your show. You go.
I went online and pulled up the most misused cliches, right? 681.
So which one is the most overused?
They all are equal.
Oh.
One that I found, or one that really I use when I'm really ticked off at people, is it's enough to piss off the Pope. That one is so misused in the written language. Fit the bill.
Yeah.
Better late than never. Chip off the old block.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? A dark and stormy night.
Oh.
One of my short stories started out with that cliche, and there was a reason for it, because it was a play on the story. It was important for the story, but that was the only time it was used.
Right.
And we're not saying don't use cliches, ladies and gentlemen. Cliches can add to a story. Don't
Oh, especially
overuse it.
in dialogue.
Yes, because if you overuse the cliche, it loses the effectiveness. There I am. I can't talk this afternoon.
Well, it makes your writing stale if you see the same thing over and over. And that's how we got on this subject today. The last time we met 2 weeks ago, I had told Yvonne about a book I was reading by a best-selling author, really well-known, and well, I never heard of her until my niece told me about her. Her name is Jodi Picoult, and she's a good writer. But just every now and then throughout the same book, you'll see the same statement, and it really annoyed me because it became cliche in my reading.
Correct.
And I found out also, here's a little reading tip to all of you listeners. If you love an author, you might find, as I did, if you read them back to back to back to back, because this one was very prolific, and she's probably written almost as many books as Yvonne Mason, but you can read them over and over and over back to back, and you kind of get bored because they employ the same mechanisms over and over, which makes them cliche. So I've had to start, in between my Jodi Picoult books, throwing somebody else in there.
And this is why I don't read a lot of the well-known authors anymore, because it is a repetition of the same story over and over and over again.
They found out what ingredients go in their soup. and they never change the recipe.
Correct. And I blame a lot of that on the publishing houses.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's one of the um, perks, I guess is what I'm thinking of being an indie author.
We
There's
can,
nobody to tell you you can't do it your way.
exactly. And people ask me, Vaughn, what do you write? I write whatever the voices in my head tell me to write. I
Yep.
write everything from inspirational to horror to thrillers to true crime to comedy to suspense to
Did you
short
say
stories.
comedy or crimedy?
Well, this one village is crimedy.
I like that though. I think you just coined a new word.
It is crimedy. It's crime with humor
Yeah.
because the drag queens wanted to play. But we have that luxury. We're not bound by word count. We're not bound by character normalization. We're not bound by same plot line, same genre. I quit reading Patricia Cornwell for that very reason. I quit reading John Connolly for that very reason. I quit reading, who's the other one I used to read a lot? See, it's been so long because I quit reading. I quit reading Stephanie Plum for that
Oh
same
yeah.
reason. And I like Stephanie Plum. But I could tell you from the very first sentence what was going to happen by the end of the book.
That is one of the most frustrating things to me about watching television, especially series. Not so
Yes.
much movies, but a series or reading a pulp fiction book that they print hundreds of millions of them, because by the time you've read two or three words, you know who done it. You know what's going to happen.
There's a
You
series.
already you can read the writing on the walls, as they say. There's another cliche for you.
There you go. There's a series that I've been watching. It's called the Blue Healers, and it's set in Australia.
Uh-huh.
And as I've been watching this series, I knew that one of the characters was going to go away 2 seasons earlier because they kept writing him doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Can't do that.
No, they never
Albert
fleshed him out.
Einstein says that's the sign of
Stupidity.
insanity.
Insanity. Yeah. They never fleshed him out as a character. They never allowed him to mature as a character. They kept giving him the same scenarios over and over and over again until they completely wrote him out. And I knew when his character didn't change or grow, he wasn't going to last.
You know, Curtis doesn't like to watch too many things with me because I predict the
Mhm.
outcome. So I've had to learn to hold that down.
I'm sitting here by myself going, well, that's not going to end well.
Yeah. And when
And
he's
again-
not in the room, I can talk to the television as much as I want.
Yep, so do
But
I.
I do prefer to yell at characters on a page rather than on a screen.
Oh, me
I just-
too.
Oh, it's just, no, don't open that door.
Knowing they're going to open it,
Hmm.
they can't help themselves.
You know what I found interesting, and I love this about the way you and I work together. You researched the most common cliches.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't discuss this. We didn't plan this.
We did not.
We just said we're going to talk about cliches next time. And what I did is I researched the best-selling authors with the most cliches. Because I wanted to know who out there uses them, and why does my critique group tell me I can't?
And what did you come up with?
I came up with James Patterson.
Yep, buddy. I no longer
He
read him
uses
either.
160 cliches per 100,000 words. So that's a really small book for him.
Yeah.
So Kurt Vonnegut, James Joyce, and Zadie Smith also use over 100 per book. But what I found interesting, Virginia Woolf was on the low end, and Elmore Leonard are on the very, very low end. But some of the cliches that I found that these so-called best-selling authors, I mean, they are. I can't say so-called. They are best-selling authors. But I sometimes look at their work. I'm researching by reading their works to figure out what they're doing, and I've decided that I probably will never be a best-selling author if that's the criteria. I mean, Isaac Asimov used past history. Well, if it's history, it's past. And if it's in the past, it's history. So it's not just a cliche, it's redundant. And Jane Austen, of course, now and we change what is a cliche with the times.
Correct.
But her thing back in the 18th century was, with all my heart.
And that was a standard cliche back
Yeah.
in the century.
Tom Clancy liked to use things like by a whisker. Now, I want to know, is it a walrus whisker or a cat's whisker? Because there's a difference there.
Or is it a man's whisker?
Yeah. What kind of whisker are we talking about? See, to me, that's why I don't like cliches. Because if I was trying to explain something that eat by or maybe missed my head, maybe a bullet missed my head by a whisker. Well, obviously, if it's going to miss me by a whisker, that's the thickness of a hair.
True.
Or, it's a millimeter, whatever. Get the other ways to say it. You don't have to do it all the time.
And to me, that's laziness in writing. It
is laziness in writing. And
we have become so anesthetized to not thinking.
Yeah.
Not thinking about other. Most writers that I have read, with the exception of a few, would rather use a 25-cent word instead of going and seeing what the 50-cent word equivalent is and using that and forcing their readers to think.
I love a writer who makes me pull out my dictionary.
There you go.
Now, I'll tell you, I really enjoy the George R.R. Martin Game of Thrones series. But one of his biggest cliches when he's talking about how dark the night is, it's black as pitch.
That was on the...
How many people, younger people especially, even know what pitch is?
They don't. Maybe they think it's how you throw a ball.
But I mean, how black is throwing a ball?
It isn't.
So you have to know what the words mean to understand the cliche. This is the one that Jodi Picoult writes that I told you I wanted to pull up. I was holding the breath I didn't know I was holding. I let out the breath I didn't know I was holding. And she would say this not just once in every book, but practically once in every chapter. Because, number one, how do you not know you're holding your breath? If I hold my breath long enough, I'm going to pass out.
Yeah.
So when I read it like 3 times within the first couple of chapters, I almost chucked the book across the room, but I was afraid I'd break something else, so I didn't. But that kind of stuff annoys me. Um, yeah. One of the queens of cliches is Danielle Steele.
Oh, yes. Very
She
much
loves to
so.
talk about the weather. Um, this is something I see on Facebook a lot, little memes around there about how you're not everyone's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a cliche. And Yvonne and I are nobody's cup of tea.
No,
We
I'm not even some people's shot of whiskey.
no, and thank God. I don't want to be. I don't want to
Me
be.
either.
So here's one that I read quite often is the clock ticked. Sometimes they'll say the clock ticked silently. Well, then how do you know it ticked? And why aren't you using digital watches and timers and looking at your phone? People don't watch clocks tick on the wall.
Not anymore.
And we always have the clear blue sky. I edited a woman's fantasy novel not long ago, and that was one of the things that I had to point out to her frequently, was how beautiful the sky always was. I said, are you doing a Chamber of Commerce brochure here? It's okay if the sky's always clear. Because every now and then she'd have it rain and have a little interest of what was going on during that point. But the sky was always clear blue. So then she changed it to the azure sky. I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
It's the same thing.
But there are ways to talk about the weather that have nothing to do with the weather. Johnny was digging Margaret's grave, and the sweat just, ran down the handle of the shovel. Or Margaret poured the poison into Johnny's cup and chuckled softly as it turned it a milky green or something. There's a way to do it.
Well, to make it more descriptive. I mean,
Yeah.
and then on the opposite side of that coin, another
Too
author
much description.
way over the pale. I don't read Stephen King anymore for that reason. He will describe a blade of grass to death. How many ways can you describe a blade of grass? It is green, it is long, it is short, it is wet, or it is dry, or it is alive or dead. End of story. You people, what we're trying to say is if you're writing a book just to fill it up with words, with a plot in there somewhere, before you send it out to anyone, go back and reread it like you're not the writer.
Read it out loud from a print.
Exactly.
Don't just read it on your computer screen, because we get so I don't want to use the word blasé, but that's all I can think about right now. We get so inured to what we've done. And we, as writers, we typically have two sides to our coins.
Right?
We are gods, and the world should obey us. Or we're little worms, and
Not
our
worthy.
stuff isn't worth a crap. And most of us don't have an in-between. Except for me and Yvonne, because
Yeah.
we know that.
We don't care either way.
But no, it's so, and I actually had a guy come up to me one time. I was at a writer's event, and he picked up a couple of my books, and he thumbed through them, and he goes, oh, this, yeah, I wouldn't buy this, but I can see why people would. I, on the other hand, have written a book, and blah, 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 blah. He had this book published on Amazon. It's double spaced. It's basically, he wrote himself a stream of consciousness. And talked about how grand and wonderful he as a human being is, and how he's never been to architecture school, but he knows how to build buildings. So he
Wonder if they would
fills
pass
half the book
code.
up with drawings of buildings that he created on a computer. He didn't create them with pen and, compass and ruler and whatnot. And he told me he was starting to sell the book for the most expensive, and it's little 6 by 9, maybe 90, 900, 100 pages or so. And he said he was going to sell it for the most expensive he could get, and work his way down so that when he has a sale. So he's selling the book for $99 on Amazon.
What?
Uh-huh. And it's ludicrous beyond. But he's so full of himself, his ego is so big that he can't see that it really isn't well written. It's not, he typed a bunch of words, but that's all he did. What is it? So there has to be, well, that's why there are people like Yvonne who are willing to give her time to help you, if not edit your own work, to help you find an editor so that you can send it out at least halfway decent, so that people don't talk about you on podcasts like this.
Well, and the facts of this whole matter is this. I know that 99% of the population has a story within them.
Oh, yes.
98 of that population does not know how to put it into written form cohesively.
They should tell their story to somebody else who can write.
Right. Or write it in a rough draft. Give it to someone who's got the experience for them to help them flesh it out. Not rewrite the whole thing like editors and publishing houses do, but give them ideas of how to flesh it out. My little author, Sherry Ann Richardson, when we discussed what I require as 12-point, New Times Roman, single space, no space between the paragraphs, no page numbers, completed manuscript, she sent me a note and she said, Yvonne, you made this so easy. I was not aware of that. I was following something else, rules of writing. I'm going, honey, that is so archaic.
The rules of writing have not changed in 200 years. People in the publishing industry want you to still do like Mark Twain did.
Right.
They want you, they don't want it typed out. They want everything electronic, but they want it presented as if you've typed it out on an Olivetti typewriter, and you got a stack of papers this thick,
Right.
and it's double spaced so your editor can make marks and send the whole paper back to you. Then you retype it all over again with the corrections. And you go through this back and forth, back and forth. Today's publishing world is so simple compared to what it used to be.
Absolutely.
Yet the powers that be haven't gotten the memo. They still want writers to do it the way it's been done for hundreds of years.
Because, well, look how long it's taken the public to accept indie authors.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm going on 20 years.
Well, when I met you, you were in a room full of indie authors.
Correct.
And y'all were the first ones I'd ever met.
Yep, we were.
And because that was probably somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago. But I was like a kid in a candy shop. I was so amazed. It's a wonder I kept my mouth closed, because I was walking around, and it was really kind of funny because, and I know we've told this story before, but it's one of my favorites. But I was walking around the room. I was taking notes and interviewing people for a story in Senior Life newspaper where I
Mm-hmm.
worked at the time. And I was buying books, I was being given books, and I was getting all kinds of little tchotchkes and things, and I had a little tote bag and it was filling up. I was walking like this because it was getting heavy. And then across the room, I saw this little top hat. That's all I could see was, because Yvonne is not a big woman, folks. She's a little itty bitty thing. But she had this top hat on her head. It was so majestic. And I saw it, and as I got closer, it had skulls wrapped around the headband. And I thought, I gotta know who that one is. I gotta know her. And the closer I got, the more magnetic it became. And we've been friends ever since. And most of these other authors, I might run into them occasionally. I might not. But if I do, it's like, do I know you? I don't know you. Yeah, go ahead. But, it was just so fun for me to go in that room and smell all these brand new books
Mm-hmm.
and to see everybody talking about their passion. And it ignited something in me. I'd always wanted to write, but Yvonne has been pushing and pushing and pushing very gently, folks. She pushes with a feather till you get to the edge of the cliff, and then she just turns around and kicks you over. But
That's what
it's
I
for
do.
your own good.
Well, the thing is, and you again, we've talked about this before. Growing up, I was never encouraged.
Yeah.
I was discouraged. My mother told me many, many years after this particular incident happened, she told me about it many, many years later. And what had happened is someone that I really, as a child, now I was a child. I don't know, I don't remember how old I was, but I was a child. And a member of where I went to church, he died. And he had an impact on my young life.
Yeah.
And mother said that I wrote a poem
Oh.
and she read it and she threw it away instead of giving it to his wife. And I said, "Why did you do that, mother?" She said, "I was afraid it would hurt her."
I know someone whose son died, and she refused to read any sympathy cards because she was afraid it would make her sad. Her husband read them all, and he told me about that. He said, "Don't bother to send her a sympathy card; she won't read it." But I gave her a painting that I had created, and she said, "No, I can't hang it on the wall. It reminds me too much of the pain."
But pain is part of healing.
Yeah, that's how you heal.
And when when Ramonda died, the kids got cards and text, and Brantley Gilbert, who is a country and western star from their hometown, and
I
he
know
was
that
Ramonda's
name.
favorite country and western star. She had her picture made with him in the local Walmart
Oh,
at his insistence because she didn't feel pretty because she had eczema and psoriasis from the asthma. And he pulled her into him and told Brandy to take the picture because she was standing off like this because she was ashamed of herself.
yeah.
But when she was at Choa, he and his new bride, who were on their honeymoon, wrote a message and sent it via text message to my son-in-law. We don't know how they got the number, but you got to remember they're all from this small town. Sent the message to my son-in-law, and we all read it, and it helped because somebody else was feeling a pain, a
Yeah.
loss, somebody that we did not know personally. So after Ramonda died, some friends of Brandy's had VIP tickets to Brantley Gilbert's concert. They took her. She was they were in this area where, if with VIP tickets, you got to talk with Brantley in a group. They gave Brantley that photograph of him and Ramonda. He told the story about
Oh,
Ramonda. And it wasn't too long after that that his wife got pregnant. So when Jack died, I got texts, I got emails, I got cards. I read them and I kept them because that told me that people that we loved felt a loss.
oh, absolutely.
And when the loss is shared, you don't feel isolated.
And it lessens the pain just a little bit.
It does. Because people can't say, well, I understand how you feel, because they don't. But they feel a loss, they feel the journey. And
Yeah,
that's what's
the
important. So
loss affects everybody differently, but
it
it affects
does.
everybody.
And there's a hole in everybody's heart.
Oh, yes.
So when people say, well, I can't stand the pain, okay, so set them aside, and at some point, you will be able to read them.
Hmm. I mean, it took me 10 years to go through my mother's journals. And it took me 10 years to get the courage to open the first one. And when I did, I started reading them. And there were some times that I would just close the journal and cry. But I transcribed every word that was in every one of her journals. And then I took them to South Carolina to visit my family. And anybody who showed up got a journal if they wanted one. So
See,
they've got a
there you go.
piece of our mother. And I still intend to take the transcribed notes and turn them into little videos. Because there's some wonderful Depression era history in there.
You could also turn it into a book.
Thought about doing that too.
Wouldn't that be great on an Audible?
Ooh, yeah. The biggest problem with her journals is a lot of it is, um, well, today's Sunday, nobody came by to see me today. It's so lonely here, kind of thing. But it's okay because I'll figure out how to fluff up what she's got.
That would be a lesson for, okay, ladies, and I'm going out on a limb here because of the community I live in. We have, I can't tell you, the elderly that are dumped in here by their children, and never ever do they check on them, come to see
Oh,
them. When some of these people get to the point that they can no longer look after themselves, they have nobody. They die, they have nobody. We had a woman die not too long ago. She'd been sick for a long, long time. She was already in hospice before her daughter showed up
mm-mm-mm-mm.
because they don't have time for their family anymore. So they dump them down here and forget them.
Yeah, when my mother, oh, I guess she was about 85. That was when we moved in with her. She died at 87. So probably in her late 70s, early 80s, after her second husband died, I'd go visit, sometimes with or without my husband, but I'd go visit my mother and spend a week just hanging out with her.
Yep.
And either when I'd come home or the night before we'd come home, I would tell Curtis, somebody's going to have to step up and do something. She's declining. So after hearing me say this for about 5 years, he looked at me and said, well, you're somebody. Why don't you do something? I'm like, well, what can I do? I live in Florida. He said, we don't have to. We're renting. There's a reason we've never bought a house. He said, I never thought of it until just now. Let's move in with your mom if she wants us to. So I asked my mother, and she said, oh my God, that would be wonderful. So we moved in with my mother, even though I had 5 siblings within 20 minutes of her. I had one brother who lived right next door. He was a godsend. He really was. But I moved in with my mom and Curtis with me. We brought the cat and we brought everything. And it was a grand, almost 3 years of just being able to take care of her. And I didn't want to call myself her companion. I mean, her caretaker. So I called myself her companion and activities director. So we went and did things together. And if you hear that chirping, that's my battery backup. I guess it's on the fritz. Nothing I can do about it.
It's not
Just
a
have to
worry.
let it wind down. Time to replace it. It's like an indoor cicada.
So we can, this conversation takes us back to cliches because what you said is somebody needs to step up. Well, it's like the word anonymous. Nobody names their child anonymous. Nobody names their child somebody. And again, in your writing, ladies and gentlemen, even if you're writing and this irritates me. It's so irritating. If you're gonna have the guts to say something, have the guts to own it.
Oh, yes.
And you own it by putting your name to it.
Well, I
Don't
think
be
the
anonymous.
anonymous probably is because over time nobody knew who said it or nobody wanted to claim it. It depends on which way of the sarcasm the statement falls.
Well, and I'm not talking about memes. I'm talking about people that put stuff out there. They're ranting about something, but they, instead of their name, you can go in and change it to anonymous.
I've seen that. And who wants to be anonymous?
Not me. If I say it, I own it. And you can bet your bottom dollar I have thought long and hard before I've said it. That's why I said it.
Yeah, I have no intention of going quietly into that good night, which is another cliche.
There you go. All right.
I will not go gracefully. I'm going down screaming and hollering and yelling and having a grand time. And, you know, when I die, I hope it's in a blaze of glory and somebody goes, who the hell was that old lady and what's up her skirt?
And my kids, I told my kids, I said, when I die, and I made Brandy promise to do this. I said, when I die, you're going to put my 3-foot Grim Reaper at the foot of the casket. You are
I
going
love
to
it.
dress as a Grim Reaper. And when people come up and pay their respects or disrespects, I don't care which. Some people be glad I died, others are not. They're not sure I'm really dead. You can point at them and say, and you too have an expiration date.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, you're next.
See, ladies and gentlemen, I am twisted. I embrace it. And people can either accept me and Mary as we are or take it on down the street. We don't care.
Nope.
We're not
I,
interested in a popularity contest.
I gave up caring one year for Lent and I never picked up the habit
There you
again.
go. I finally found caring and then forgot where I put it, so it's still MIA.
I mean, the funny thing is, both of us care deeply.
We do.
We care very deeply about the important things,
We do.
but someone's opinion of us is not important.
Well, to
And
me,
the cutest little meme I've ever seen about that was, it's none of your business what other people think about you.
and that is true, because that's on them.
Yeah.
Their opinion of you is really their opinion of themselves.
Oh, definitely.
When I get beat up here in the village by some of the village idiots, I have to go back and look at them and go, you know, it's really sad You apparently have no life. You want mine. Well, honey, you can't have my life.
They couldn't
Number one, you
handle
have
your life.
no, they couldn't. They'd be laid out in the middle of the street, beating their head on the ground, going, "Why me, Lord? What did I ever do?" But what people only see, with the exception of a few, is what I allow them to see. They think they know me. A, they underestimate me. B, they don't know the journey I've been on for the last 74 years of my life. They don't understand that the scars that I wear are internal and external.
Oh, yeah.
And I embrace those scars because I'm still here.
You know, it's really funny because when we had our sibling reunion a couple weeks ago, we hired a photographer to come, and she overheard me telling one of my younger brothers something about one of my books, or all of my books, I don't remember. And she just zoned in on that. So after she finished her photography, she came over, she said, "Did I understand that you write books?" I said, "Yeah, I do." She said, "What kind of books do you write?" I said, "Well, I've written 2 children's books, 3 books about angels, and a sex novel." And she goes, "Oh, oh, tell me more." I said, "Hold on, I'll go to my car, I'll bring you in a copy of each." Well, she ended up buying a copy of each of my books. And um, she asked me, "Well, I can understand the angels, and I can understand the organs. How did you get onto a sex novel?" I said, "Well, it's not really a sex novel. It's a book about sex addiction and the man's journey toward recovery and 12-step tradition, blah, blah." And she says, "Why? You're not a sex addict, are you?" I said, "Oh, no." I said, "But I wrote this because I was Facebook stalked, and I was married to a narcissist, and I lived with, 25 years of psychological abuse." And she goes, "Oh, me too, been there, sister, done that." And so we started talking, and my older sister came over. She goes, "Mary, that's in your past. Leave it in the past. Move on." I said, "Oh, honey, I've moved on." I said, "When you hear me telling any stories about my first husband, it's only to put something else into context. It has nothing to do with my pain or what I've been through. It's to show people that I know what I'm talking about."
It's a lesson learned, it's
Yes,
experience.
but the truth of the whole thing was not that my sister was trying to help me move on. She was eaten up with the green-eyed monster. And there's another cliche for you folks.
Hmm.
But jealousy that this photographer who had never seen me before in her life, all of a sudden was my new best friend. And she was buying my books. "You didn't come here to sell books." I said, "Oh, I sell books wherever I go."
Exactly.
I always carry at least 2, sometimes more, but I always carry at least 2 copies of each of my books, because you just never know where you're going to be or who you're going to see and how the conversation's going to go. And it's better to have them with you, especially if you're an indie author.
Yep.
Carry your books with you. Don't just say, "Oh, you can find them on Amazon." You give somebody a business card and say, "You can find me on Amazon." They'll throw that business card in the trash. They'll forget all about Amazon. They'll get the book that's on sale, or they'll
Yep.
go to the library and check something out. But if you've got the books right there with you, and I'll sign them for you,
There you go.
they can't turn you down, and they won't. I mean, I
And
thought this woman was going to buy a novel, and she ended up buying
all
all
of them.
5 of my books.
And she, I'm sure, as she was buying them, she had people in mind to give them to.
Her 3 children got the children's books, and the rest of them, she said, "These are mine."
My When my sister was alive, she always gave me books for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't just give me books, if that makes any sense. She knew that I loved Anne Rice. So whatever Anne Rice's latest release was, that's what I got.
Nice.
But the funny story behind that is she read it before she gave it to me.
Ah,
It was a running joke, and that book meant so much more
yeah.
because she was interested enough to read it. One year she gave me a book on Egyptian archaeology because she knows how much I love Egyptian history and archaeology. Done a lot of research in it, and there's a book in the making. She gave me a book on the goat man that roamed the state of Georgia when I was a child. He had this little cart, and he's had these 4 or 5 goats that pull the cart. And my grandfather used to tell me he was going to trade me to the
Uh-huh.
goat man when he would come to Rome. But she thought about the things that I enjoyed, and she would
That's smart.
enjoy them before she gave them to me. One year
Well,
she gave me a thesaurus.
whoa.
Yeah, which absolutely just, I felt like I'd had gold. The other day there was a somebody posted on Facebook that they had gone by this house and somebody had thrown out a complete collection of Encyclopedia Britannicas. I know,
Oh,
right? So they picked them up and took them home. I said I used to read those. Just sit down and read them, starting
yes.
with A, because there was so much information
Well,
in
we
those
didn't have the
encyclopedias.
internet.
No,
And a lot of us didn't have easy access to libraries. We had a mobile library that came to us occasionally. But when my parents got encyclopedias, I was in heaven.
I used
Number
to read.
one, they were all alike. These
Yes,
books looked so pretty in the bookcase. And nobody else in my family, very few people in my family read them. There were, out of 8 children, 3 of us were very studious. Um, I think one of my brothers liked to play with the anatomy pages, the little filmy ones where you could lay them across and
right.
see um, the different body systems on top of each other. I studied the dog section in the D book. I learned so much about the different dog breeds, and it's so funny because every now and then I'll see a dog on TV or on the street, and I'll say, "Oh, that's a Weimaraner," or "That's a Burmese mountain dog," or whatever it happens to be. Curtis says, "How do you know that?" I
Because I
said, "I
read
had a
about
sheltered life as a child."
it. I used to read the dictionary.
The dictionary was my favorite thing to read. And I would just flip it open to a random page, and I'd start on the left-hand page, and I'd work down. That's how my vocabulary got big. Um, I don't know. It's just so many things in the dictionary and the encyclopedias that were like forbidden fruit to me.
Mm-hmm.
You could read things about places that I only dreamed about.
And it stuck with us.
Yes. Well, you know, if you, what does they say? If you read it, you remember it. If you do it, you remember it better, or something like that. Which is why traveling is such a big deal if you are able to travel.
Travel.
But a lot of people, especially since COVID, we quit traveling, or we travel only for business, or whatever. But I think this past June, early June, we went to North Carolina. Curtis wanted to go visit his sister. Great, fine, wonderful. And we get up there, and I told him, I said, I want to see a mountain. I want to touch a mountain. I don't want to just drive through them. I want to get out. I want to touch a mountain. And I've got to remind him to send me the pictures, because he took some great pictures of me just lying down on the side of a mountain. There's a little bald spot there, and I'm I was in heaven. It felt so grounding for me to just be there. And it's like going to the ocean or watching a river flow by. Anything big nature is good for your soul.
Oh, I agree. In fact, I'm very homesick. It's beginning to get, yeah, we're in the throes of the middle of summer, but fall is right around the corner.
Yeah.
And the
And you lived
two,
in the mountainous area, didn't you?
yes, we still do. My house
Okay.
is still in that area. The Blue Ridge Mountains are not that far from the house. It's a long range of mountains that covers almost the entire upper part of the state.
Uh huh.
For those that y'all don't know what the Blue Ridge Mountains are, it's also the Smoky Mountains. It covers
It's also
Georgia,
called the Appalachian.
Appalachian, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, North and South Carolina, and all the way up into Virginia. And if you've never spent any time in the mountains, I'm not talking about driving through them. I'm talking about, like Mary said, on top of a mountain, looking out over the majesty of nature. It stays with you.
It's awe inspiring to realize, especially those of us who tend to live in suburbs or cities, those are our mountains, these big
Yep.
monuments, these big buildings. But when we don't go out and get engage in nature on a grand scale, you can go out to a city park. It's better than nothing. You can walk in your grass. Better than
Nothing.
nothing. But to go where the nature is all you can see,
There's
and
no
to go
houses,
hiking,
there's no buildings, there's no concrete, it's just you and the mountains. And I tell people, I've been in this state for almost 20 years. And I tell people, you can take the girl out of Georgia, but you'll never take Georgia out of the girl. There is something so grounding in being from that part of the world. And people that I've talked to that lived in that area, Virginia, West Virginia, North South Carolina, Tennessee, they say the same thing. Those mountains, I have a friend right now from Pennsylvania, those mountains call him home. They call me home. And that will always be home. Eventually, I'm going there
yeah,
because I don't want to die here. I want to die in my mountains. Of course, being Scotch Irish doesn't help any. We have now gone into an hour and 15 minutes.
yeah, that seems to be our sweet spot, I think.
It is. It really, really is. So, are we going to
An
do this?
hour is too short. An hour and a half is too long.
So, what shall we talk about next Wednesday?
Oh, I don't remember what was on our list because we came up with a real quick list that first day that we did this.
Ladies and gentlemen, it'll be a surprise because she'll remember the list and she'll send it to me.
Yeah.
And then we'll do our research and then we'll
Yeah.
promote it. But know that all of this will go up on all the social medias. She gets a piece of it. She puts it up on all of hers. I put it up on all of mine. Goes up on YouTube.
It goes everywhere.
It
It's
goes
like
everywhere.
Santa Claus. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
And the thing is, we encourage you all to send us questions, suggestions,
Yes.
anything you want to talk about. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I
And
mean, it's called All Things Books and Publishing. But all writers are humans.
exactly.
All publishers do is work with people. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, let
We'll
us
talk
know.
about it.
Just
We don't care.
post a comment on wherever you see us, and one of us will get back to you. And you want to be a guest on the show, let us know.
Let us know. We'll make it happen. We know
But
how to make things. We might have to tweak it, but we know how to make things happen because
it
we don't
takes
give
us
up.
about a month to get it worked
But
out.
look what happened. I mean, we
Today was
remember
picture perfect.
when we were doing Blog Talk Radio, there was a learning curve.
Oh, yes.
And I ran that show for 16 years.
Wow.
Along 7, 8, I don't know it. I started it when Ramonda died. She died in 2015. We ran the show almost 10 years before they
Wow.
kicked us. They went belly up.
They went belly up and said, we're done. We can't do this anymore.
So we were looking for another venue, and I am not one to give up.
Nope.
So I found this one, and I said, okay, Mary. Now,
Yeah, it's really funny because when I was working with Blog Talk Radio, it was because of Yvonne. She invited me to be a part of her show. And then when the time came, she says, okay, little bird, fly, go, do your own. And so we did a show with Be Unique. I mean, we had 20 different hosts over the course of almost 8 years. 20 different hosts, each with their own topic. We had hundreds of shows. I think we ended up with like 1,101 actually episodes. And I had one of my previous hosts ask me, did you download my shows? I'm like, nope. I did download some, but I saw no need to download every single thing that everybody said.
well, if they're on other networks, whatever, they can go and download them. If they're
I
on
told him, I
SoundCloud,
said,
Mixcloud,
go to
Spotify,
Spotify. You can go to Apple iPods, what do you call it? Apple Podcast.
right?
They're everywhere. They're on, and that was one of the things I liked about Blog Talk was they really expanded your reach.
Well,
So
these
we're
guys
going
are
to do
beginning
this a little
to.
slower this go round, but we'll get there.
Well, this is a new thing with Spotify. This is brand new. They're still tweaking it every day. I guess so. We're doing this now. We're doing that now. So eventually, it's going to be as big as Blog Talk. Now,
Oh yeah.
what we can do, and what I've been doing is once we go off air, and we shut it down, I download it, then I upload it everywhere. It's already up on Amazon Music. It's on iHeartRadio. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. It's, of course, on YouTube and all over Facebook. It's on the website.
It's on Instagram when I get it.
Yep, it's on Instagram. It's
And I usually
everywhere.
post one on LinkedIn as well.
There you go. So, as this thing grows, and I fully expect it to grow,
Oh yeah.
because that's what we do. I mean, look,
Yvonne and I have never partnered on anything that stayed stagnant.
Nope. No.
We've never collaborated on anything that remained as it was when we started. We always
Takes on a
take it
whole new
and
life
make
form.
it a whole new creature.
Yeah, that's just how we roll. In fact, we're talking about meeting up for lunch and doing a podcast at lunch
On
when
location.
on location when we can both get our schedules
Yep.
on the same page. This week has been a flippin' zoo. Next week's probably going to be another flippin' zoo.
Well, that's all right. We'll take the zoo and flip it upside down and climb
Inside
in with
out.
the alligators.
There you go. Well, we are going to close today's show. I have no idea what we're going to talk about next Wednesday at 11 o'clock,
It'll
but
be a surprise.
Mary will tell me. Who knows? It'll be fun.
It'll
But-
be fun, she said.
Share this, ladies and gentlemen. Please share this and understand we are willing to help you as a writer. So you don't want to write a book, write a short story, write a flash fiction. Flash fiction is 50 words or less. You know, you get in there, you tell the story, and boom, you're done. Start with a flash fiction.
Do a haiku.
A haiku. There you go. Start with a haiku. Post it on Facebook. And yeah, you're going to get haters, but this is what I tell everybody. If you got haters, you're doing something right.
Exactly, because if nobody's talking about you, nobody's paying attention to you.
Exactly. And with that, we're going to close the show. We will see.
Bye.
Bye. We will see you next Wednesday at 11 o'clock right here. Bye,
See ya.
everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Yvonne.
Bye.